So now we're going to change the tack a bit, going from cognitive services to more into data analytics parts of things. So we have Lubomir Karlik, who's coming second, and Georg Koldorfer first from Raffeisen Bank, who have got a big booth outside as well. And I'm going to talk about AI and advanced analytics applied at Raffeisen Bank. So how do you analyze the things and what can AI do for you to plow through data for you? So let's see what they're doing with it, and afterwards meet them at their booth and see if they got more questions. Please ask questions on Slido. They were happy to answer them, and I think they're going to be fine on time, so we have a few times for your questions too. So without further ado, if you please come up, Georg Koldorfer. Oh no, now the other one comes. Excellent.
So, welcome everybody after lunch. I hope you enjoyed it and it was a good lunch for you. We have the pleasure to present you what Raffeisen Bank International is doing in terms of advanced analytics and artificial intelligence. I can tell you we do a lot in this sense. Lubomir Karlik, by the way, to introduce him, he is heading our team for artificial intelligence. My name is Georg Koldorfer. I'm responsible for advanced analytics from the IT side of our bank. Just to give you a short overview, what is Raffeisen? We are not Revolut, we are not number 26. What is Raffeisen Bank? Or where is Raffeisen Bank working? What are we doing? We are, I would say, one of the leading banks across Central and Eastern Europe. So we have around, I always have to look at it, 50,000 employees, but more important, on overall, we have a customer base of 16.5 million. We are in 14 markets, like I said, based in Central and Eastern Europe. And these markets are, I would say, for advanced analytics quite interesting because these are still, I would say, for banking and for finance, emerging markets with a huge potential. Also, maybe the brand, or the brand for, I would say, the Austrians will know, Hermann Mayer, Marcel Hirschler for skiing, for ski driving, our famous ski racers. For all the others not coming from Austria, very important, after Red Bull, I would say we are one of the most recognized brands in Europe and in the world. I will give you now a short overview about what we are doing with advanced analytics in the bank. Afterwards, Lubomir Karlik will present you about artificial intelligence. We see, very important, we see, I would say now, from the bank, we see advanced analytics is one of the game changers which is arising, which is upcoming. Yeah? If we have looked before, I don't know, in the 50s, 80s, mainframe was the, I would say, top-notch. In the early 2000s, the topic was about, yeah, cool, I can have my, let's say, online banking, I can go to the ATM, digitalized, more or less. The last years, it was a lot about regulations, it was a lot about we have to send to our regulators a lot of financial information, whatever they wanted to know from us. It was a lot about, I would say, business intelligence. Was a lot about, yeah, doing here, let's say, saying what's or finding out, in fact, what's going on within a huge bank like Raffeisen or all the other banks, what they are doing out of the data. And now what emerges and is starting, this is the topic of advanced analytics. So when I look what kind of projects we are starting in the bank, it all has to do with data. It all has to do with finding out the needs. It all has to do with somehow improve the customer experience. And it all has to do at the end with data. So if I look about projects which we are starting or what is here are now coming, it is like smart contracts. It is like I'm opening up the bank for I would say external parties. You all know maybe the topic of PSD2, where open banking is really a big, I would say, game changer in the industry. And this forces us, on the one hand, to open up our, I would say, data ecosystem, and on the other hand, it brings us, I would say, good challenges, because with the data we can do a lot, yeah? And we can do here very, I would say, interesting cases. Where do we see, I would say, advanced analytics? Where do we see that advanced analytics is applied? For sure, like I said, this open up of new revenue streams. Why? Because as a bank we have to open up. Yeah? Here, very important, it is about finding out what do customers want, in which direction is the market going. And we have seen this, for example, in some of our banks in Central and Eastern Europe. It's about when you create a new company, when you register it in the public registry, then immediately you get a call from 5, 6, 7 banks, and it is about, okay, do you have an account? Don't you have an account? Don't you want to have an account with Raffeisen or whomever? So here is a speed that is very important. On the other hand, I mean, we have written it here as cost reduction, but it's about getting the boring things somehow automated. And here, with advanced analytics, I would say we have a lot of power and a lot of interesting cases by the hand. Yeah? So on the one hand, AML, anti-money laundering, I would say more or less a boring topic. It's currently based on rules. It's currently based on, I would say, very static and a lot of manual workload in the background. Here, with advanced analytics in general, all these topics of fraud prevention, fraud detection, here we can do a lot, and we are doing a lot in this direction. Next product is about new products, new services. Here, like Lubomir, Karlik will present, it's about chatbot, it's about a personal financial advisor. It's about helping the clients to optimize their budgets, to optimize their spendings. Because I would say as a bank, for sure, data privacy and GDPR is very important, but still, as a bank, we can help you, customers, optimizing their finances, like telling you want to spend less on, let's say, taxi drivers. So as a bank, we can help you here to optimize your budget in this area. Reporting, also I would say big topic. It's here about, for example, credit risk detection. It's about scoring. Also, these systems are more or less, I would say, rule-based. There is a lot of, I would say, there are static stuff behind. Here, as a bank, we see a lot of potential to optimize this, to make this better, to become here much more individual and go away from these mass products in this direction. And also important is advanced analytics is also, I would say, increasing our profit and can help us to increase profit. Very important here, this topic is about customer lifetime value. So finding out at what stage is the customer, how can, as a bank, can he be supported in order to bank for sure with Raffeisen. I mean, the topic all starts when also we have started with the topic of, everybody says analytics, and with analytics there comes Hadoop, and there comes a lot of other technical tools and stuff. Maybe some of you know this big data landscape, which is, I would say, every year growing and growing. Matt Turk is here doing, I would say, a lot, but he stopped somehow 2017, most probably because it didn't fit anymore somewhere so that you can read it. But here it's really important also for us to take the right technology and to use here the proper tools. So we are, I would say, as a bank, also go into the, I would say, new technologies. What we are setting up, very important, is cloud-based. It's based on, I would say, very flexible infrastructures and going away from, I would say, on-premise, static structures, and being here, I would say, as most flexible and agile as possible. But technology is just one point, and this is what we are looking for. And I also have to say here, we are hiring. We are looking for, I would say, talented people. I have written here, okay, data scientist skill set, but if you go to our page, to our jobs.abinternational.com, side, you will see we are looking for a DevOps unicorn, for example, and we are looking for, I would say, and we are hiring people who bring in, I would say, a broad skill set in this direction. Yeah? Here, just as an example, the data scientist. What do we see is important as a data for a data scientist? On the one hand, for sure, this is the topic of having the data scientist skill set, so being good with mathematical and statistical methods, but also being good in, I would say, the technical skills behind. Like spinning up a cluster with EMR, for example, or with Spark. On the other hand, also important are these data engineering skills. So we have a lot of data pods within the bank which need to be explored, which need to be queried. So and here it's important to find out the right piece of information that can be used. And also very important are these, we always say, this business analysis skills. So being, I would say, a communicative person, being a critical, asking why are we doing this, this is a very important skill set. And also important is, I would say, the interest in domain skills, so banking or this banking area, because for sure, yeah, or our employees or colleagues should know what and why we are doing these things, and also be on the level to talk with the counterparts on a eye-to-eye level. I would say this is a skill set, yeah, which is for sure, I would say, hard to find, but also what I need or want to emphasize, we are a community, we are like a startup, in fact, within the bank. So also our journey from Lubomir, Karlik and me has started more or less 2 years ago, coming from a very, I would say, a static side of the bank, but now we have here more or less, I would say, a good startup style. We are also working like in a garage company, I often say. And here it's important that you have a good and large community behind. And this is also what we are saying, where we are doing at Raffeisen a lot. There are communities for sure data scientists, there are communities for developers, there are communities for operations. So we are here, I would say, foster this exchange so that people are not alone and that we can also gain, I would say, the knowledge of this large group. So whenever, for example, we do a use case, we can reuse the know-how and, for example, models from advanced analytics which have been somewhere within our, I would say, large bank been maybe done already. We also offer the possibility for job rotations, so meaning if you want to work abroad, we are highly, or this is highly welcome. And also very important, we are organizing, I would say, trainings and conferences on our own, but also there is the possibility to go on conferences and trainings like here, for example. Good. These were my sentences, and I hand over to Mr. Karlik.
Good. Thank you, Georg. Good afternoon also from my side, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad that I can share today with you our view on AI, our experiences, and what have been done so far. Yesterday in the opening speech, it's been said that during these 2 days you were supposed to have fun. And I have to say that we are the team that is privileged in the bank that we can have fun all over the year. Because we are allowed to do prototyping, we are allowed to try out, evaluate new things, cutting-edge technologies, and new solutions in the field of machine learning and AI. And I'm really glad for this opportunity. We are a rather small team, and this allows us to be like a startup in a huge company with a long year history in the banking field, but also in other fields. First question we have asked ourselves when we were starting with AI and founded the team, what is AI for us? If you go on the internet, you can find thousands of definitions, questions. There is not a single one. But what would it mean for a bank? What are the key channels or banking businesses or banking processes and capabilities? How the customers consume banking services and products? And when we have a look at it, it's always a text or voice. We said these are our core elements, around the artificial intelligence. So we do natural language processing, we do the voice processing, we do the personal assistance, call center analytics, and all the things that are around voice and text processing. That's our vision and definition of artificial intelligence. Having said this, probably all of you witnessed a prototype of a great show that one unknown company with double O and double G in the name presented in May this year with a great extension of their virtual assistant that was voice-based and can order a table at a restaurant. And we said to ourselves, technology really went far. This is amazing. It's really human-like interaction. You couldn't really distinguish that you are talking to the machine. And we were wondering, how is this possible? Is it even possible? Is it even possible for us? Because Raffeisen has one specific. Most of the AI solutions, especially in text processing, in cognitive services, and voice, are based on English. English is much further. We, as a Raffeisen banking group, we are active in CE region. It's one of our biggest challenges. How do we tackle with the Slavic languages, Hungarian, Albanian? We cannot really use the voice processing for English. Is it possible to be able to build such a solution also on our own? So we experimented a little bit, put together our heads, had a look on the market, what is possible, what not, what are the solutions, how to mesh it up. And we ended up with a prototype that I must say it's not that fancy as the one that was presented in May, but we are still proud of it. And we built it to basically prove that, yes, you can build up the whole pipeline. We can build up something that is useful and can be built on AI solutions. Let's have a look at the results. So it's a virtual call center agent. It's not in productive use. It's a very small case, but still it was not so simple to build. It's mainly based on open source technologies and software as a service components. And it can provide you information about the current FX spot prices. So if you need to buy a foreign currency, or you can trade a foreign currency. Of course, it's not connected to any core banking system yet. It's all mocked up, but this is how it looks.
Добрый день. Я валютный бот. Я могу вам помочь с получением информации о текущих ценах на валютном рынке и покупкой валютных спотов. Как я могу вам помочь?
Добрый день. А какая текущая цена чешской кроны?
Текущая цена спота равна 25.78 чешской кроны за 1 евро.
Я хотел бы купить американские доллары.
Пожалуйста, укажите сумму, которую вы хотели бы купить.
1 миллион.
Пожалуйста, подтвердите, что вы хотите купить $1 миллион США с текущим обменным курсом 0.88 за 1 евро.
Да, я подтверждаю.
Отлично. Ваш запрос на покупку успешно зарегистрирован.
Большое спасибо и всего вам доброго.
Не стоит благодарности.
So it's still not the very human-like interaction, but it's going there. We invested a couple of days. It's not like hundreds of developers or data scientists, AI experts that we would have available. But we've proven it's possible to build things that make sense. We can find many use cases. And more importantly, it's a mashup of components that can be used in different use cases. So this is the full pipeline we will see for the voice processing, but you can take only a couple of the components and apply it on different use cases. What we would like to also share is the architecture, how we build it. So we have a virtual call center. This is a software as a service so that we can be very fast, speed it up. We ordered it with a company credit card and basically ordered a public phone number so that we can call it from mobile phone on a landline. We use voice to text, by the way. This is the weakest point. That's what I mentioned with the C languages. So the voice processing, it's possible, but it's far yet not there as English. And we are using software as a service solution and currently evaluating some on-premise alternatives. More interestingly, so that we can start fast, we were thinking what bot solution we will take. And there are plenty of them. And they offer always the same, more or less, feature-wise. Of course, the catch is the quality. But we found and discovered one interesting open source solution that by various benchmarks is comparable with the offerings from the big companies, and this is Rasa. And we rely on three major further components that are packaged in Rasa, and that's spacing. Spacey we use for entity recognition, so to recognize or to extract the keywords like what currency is being talked, what amounts, dates, etc. Surprisingly, this works pretty well also for C languages, so it's not so specific on English or the major languages. We used the TensorFlow implementation of tar space algorithm or methods published last year by Facebook. So it's basically word embedding or based on words embedding, and it has multi-language capability. So it's not fully fledged NLP. It doesn't rely on some grammar characteristics and specifics, but rather on the mapping of the words to the multidimensional space and looking on the similarity or closeness of the vectors. And we use Keras to also put a little bit of AI logic to the bot action. So it's not only rule-based, but we rely on the neural networks to derive best next action based on probability and likelihood if the case and if the dialogue never appeared before. And last step, and this is also orchestrated by the call center, we rely on voice synthesis, also software as a service at the moment. We are planning also to tackle or build our own model, probably on Takatron 2, which seems to be the state-of-the-art or more advanced platform to build the voice synthesis solution. And interesting on this pipeline is that for many NLP cases or many other use cases, you can use only subset of this. This is the full pipeline, and we proved that at least from technical perspective it works, and it can be built up upon. How do we work? How do we build such a solutions? How do we even come up to the idea that to build such a prototype? So first of all, as we are a banking group or group of banks, and the use cases and our internal customers are the network banks across the CE region, we need to get closer to our internal customers. So on one hand, let's say the demand part we do through community building. We organize workshops internal for Raffeisen, but we also organize several meetups already in Bratislava in particular, to also discuss or broaden the spectrum and audience, and to also exchange with academic and with different sectors. And we do also our own research. So this is kind of the supply part. And in the workshop, we try to match them. So what is possible and what is needed. And the most juicy, the most interesting cases, we proceed with prototyping. So we evaluate our hypothesis, we check if the technology is already there or not, if the voice processing for CE is already advanced enough, what are the best tools or models to apply. And once the hypothesis is validated and we prove that, yes, we can use the tool and we can build a reasonable solution, then we build a solution. And this is, of course, another level of complexity. So we need then also software engineering experts and real experienced developers to make it scalable, robust, secure, etc. What is the lesson learned out of it? It's what we learned in the past years and months of doing the AI solution. They're a little bit different. It's different than classical Java and instruction-based code. And there are three major learnings from our perspective. One is business requirements and goals are important. They are essential. This is always forgotten, also in classical instruction-based software. But here, it's essential. If you don't understand why you build a solution, what do you want to reach? Are you cutting costs, or do you want to improve the customer experience? Normally both, but what is more important? This might lead to completely different solution, completely different non-functional requirements, which is basically second step. If you don't define it well, feature-wise, it's always the same. Voice to text, okay, feature, but how good? How robust? What's the accuracy? What false positives do I allow? What false negatives? What do I expect from the solution? So the non-functional requirements is a key component here. If you don't understand it, you build something. And last but not least, the test approach is crucial. Very often, especially when it comes to deep learning and neural networks, it's black box. We heard several times, and also we'll hear today about explainable AI. I think it's a vital component as well, and it will be nice development. We are not there at the moment. That's why we bet on a sound testing. We need to test the solution sound so that we can verify that they work in an expected manner. What are the challenges when building? It's not only AI. It's not only the technology that is our pain point. We are a bank. And the key asset of the bank, it's money, yeah, but it's a trust. So if the solution doesn't work and you lose the trust, you lose the client, you're losing your key asset. And one of the topics, related topics, is legal. So there were some legal changes when it comes to GDPR, data protection, data privacy, and we really take it seriously. And I have to admit that this is a painful process to be on a safe side, that we can use the data to build the AI models, that we anonymize them, that we treat it well. And we are actually in much closer alignment with our legal department than ever before. Also, the usage of black box model not only for GDPR perspective, but let's say recommendation system. If we are talking about pre-approval loans, this is a little bit different field. If it's a black box, the regulators at the moment are not very happy about it. So you need to be able to explain the decisions the AI solutions are doing. It's a very dynamic market. When you started with the topic couple years ago, the players, the ranks, so to say, who was the best, who was most advanced, who had the state-of-the-art technology, it's changed. It's changing constantly. It's so many companies, and they basically offer the same. If you have a look on the chatbot solutions, it's hundreds of companies at the moment. How do you choose? They always offer the same, more or less the same. No one explains the details. No one goes deep dive, what concepts they implement, etc. This is very hard for us to choose the right vendor, and especially if you don't have internal know-how, how the solutions work, then you are like blind. You really buy just the black box. Data. There is never enough. And even though we are a big bank and we have plenty of data, even after approval from legal that we can use it, there is never enough. The more we would have, the better. And this is also what we would like to leverage. We would like to do more group projects, more international, and cover the whole CE region to leverage of the huge amount of data we would have available. Make or buy dilemma, this is actually also interesting. The prototype you have seen, we tested because we wanted to learn. We wanted to understand, we wanted to prove certain hypotheses, but it doesn't mean that we will also go to production exactly with this setup. And it's very hard, even if you consider only the current market available solutions, but what happens if someone comes in half a year, I Google and say, okay, here's virtual agent for banking, then we wasted money for building it on our own and investing our own money to build our custom solution. So this is a constant dilemma that we are trying to tackle with, if we make the custom solution for us, is it so Raffeisen specific, we need to put Raffeisen blood inside, or do we buy it? And for many, and especially the crucial solutions, we believe in make, because most of the AI, especially the customer facing, you need to inject the genes of the company. You want to personalize it. You don't want some black box. What's the competitive advantage afterwards? How do you control it? Then you buy something. You want to inject the genes inside. Expectations are also very important. I would mention it here. AI, if we want or not, it's a hype, or it's been hype. And in many businesses and many business counterparts and our internal customers, the expectation of AI, it's let's say somewhere else. They don't understand what AI can do for them, so they need to take the hand, we need to provide them consulting, we need to provide them or settle the expectation a little bit lower, because they believe they can get the black box, that they can communicate human-like, they can completely get rid of all humans behind, etc. And we know that this is not possible. We rather want to use the AI to automate things, automate trivial things, and support the people behind. We don't want to replace them. And resources. As Georg already mentioned, it's a challenge. What we are looking for, especially in the AI team, we bid on all-rounders. We don't want to have a long chain of business analyst, consultant, tester, AI expert, methodologies, Scrum Master, you name it. This slows you down. You lose the effectivity. So we rather want to have people that are cross-functional, that understand also the business need, they can talk to the internal customers, they understand the methodology, they understand the AI models behind. And of course, everyone has its own focus, but in the end, they are cross-functional. Actually, up to networking, security, and security itself, encryption methodology, because security is for us the number one we always have to consider. So maybe just to close with our vision of what we believe. I believe the whole AI and also in banking, it's the starting point. Even though the technology advanced, we expect exponential growth of AI adoption and application. We also believe that for CE region, the language processing, especially voice processing components, is not there yet. It's not matured enough. You can already use it to, I don't know, support or replace IVRs on the call centers, but to do the human-to-human or human-like communication, it's not there yet, but it's advancing. So we believe in a very interesting next years and interesting project and prototype we will be doing in AI. And we hope also that what Gartner and other big companies predict, that banking is going to be one of the sectors that is going to be impacted by the AI and the AI adoption the most, that it's true, and we will have a busy years ahead of us. Thank you.
Excellent. We have a few questions. Are you afraid of getting outdated by new players like N26? Let's skip to the next one. How do you
Just to state this, because the topic always comes with number 26, Revolut, Monzo Bank, whatever. I mean, the fintechs are quite cool. They are even more flexible than we are. But nevertheless, I must say our business model is, I would say, substantial. It has been worked over, I would say, 200 years. Look, who of these fintechs at the end of the day makes profits? There are not many of them, and we as a Raffeisen still have here, I would say, a large customer base, and we are the bank to trust. So I would ask, I don't want to say too negative, but I would ask who is using number 26 or Revolut as the salary account. There are not so many people doing this. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. More interesting, how do you manage the identification process and prevent identity theft? Because voices are easy to fake.
Yeah. Great question. It's one of the topics definitely we have. We actually are at the moment and currently evaluating several voice biometry solutions. What we believe on is not to bid only on voice biometry, but kind of multi-factor authentication. So if you combine the phone number the user is calling and voice biometry, maybe some other characteristics that you use more tokens or characteristics, that's the way to go. And also we see the future rather in layers. It's like paying by your credit card or bank card wireless, I mean on contactless, you can pay up to 25 euros. What's the security? It's only the card you need. You don't need to sign anything and people still use it. And we believe in something like this as well. So lower risks, lower security standards, higher possible risk, higher standards, and multi-factor authentication will be the key.
What do you do to do the entity extraction that was mentioned in the slides? You basically have an entity extraction in your data. What do you use for that? Is that a built-in thing? Did you build your own model?
We depend on Spacey. We use Spacey and we train our own model. So it's custom trained, but we rely on Spacey, open source library.
Okay. In terms for developers, I think the last one that we have time for, is PSD2 really a public API? And can I as a customer write an Alexa app?
In terms of PSD2, this is a regulation where every bank has to open their interfaces towards other banks. There are quite, I would say, high security standards behind, and it's also, for example, important that you get the customer consent of the other banks where the customer is banking with in order to transfer data across multiple banking accounts. I mean, on the long term, it would be possible for sure to write an Alexa app, but this is nothing that can be done in, I would say, a few weeks. So there are very high security and regulation standards.
It's a B2B API, basically, and not to B2C. Excellent. We're out of time. Would you be OK to answer the questions that haven't been answered via email, so the Slido guys can get your email, and because there's some very good questions there.
Yes,
and,
sure.
I guess you will be available outside of your booth as well.
Sure.
So ask the questions there. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.